voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah, it's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
Well, my day is complete, John. We made someone happy. That's all we did. We made someone happy.
Say that every day, Brad. And 44, when you say 44, you're talking about the Cards versus the Browns in the World Series, right?
Yeah. Did you know a little trivia on that?
I know maybe just a little bit of trivia. Yeah, what about it?
The Bat Boy was the same Bat Boy for both teams.
I did not know that, Brad. Are you serious? What's his name? Eddie Goodell.
No, but he was the same guy. And think about it. He had a job, 160. I don't think they played 162 games, but every day in the baseball season, he had a job. He didn't have to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he didn't travel at all. He just stayed right there. Okay, you know what this is? It's Friday, so know what that means?
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
Exactly what we're talking about, the John Combest Top 3. Every single day, John puts together this list of all the important stuff you should know that's going on around the state of Missouri. We start off with this guy. He intros us in.
I'm Casey Kasem.
He says interesting things like,
we're on our way to the number one. And here they are.
And
now on with the countdown.
And
their stories coming up.
And
in third place,
we're going to front on ourselves for next week, Brad. Next Tuesday, Governor Mike Kehoe gives his very first State of the State address in Jefferson City. The two main topics, according to the Post-Dispatch, that Mike Kehoe will address next week. The first one we covered extensively yesterday, Brad. Yesterday would have been January 23rd for the folks who want to listen on YouTube. We covered the state control of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. But Mike Kehoe is also going to focus on another topic. How can we start to reduce and then eliminate Missouri state income tax? Brad, Kehoe set the parameters yesterday with reporters. He was talking to the Missouri Press Association, and he didn't say exactly what he's going to say Tuesday. He just gave a little teaser, which is revenue is slowing in the state of Missouri, Brad. And also, Missouri doesn't have a ton of federal money coming in, all those Biden bucks, all that pandemic money coming in. With a tighter belt, how will Missouri continue to deliver services to its residents and also cut the income tax? How are we going to make that magic happen, Brad? Mike Kehoe says he will have more details for us on Tuesday.
John, I'll be honest with you. I'm really disappointed in Mike Kehoe.
Why is that?
Well, look, we've got the standards been set by Donald Trump. He comes in. Executive order. He's jumping around. He's flying out to L.A. today. He's going to North Carolina. You know, if Mike Kehoe was really going to be a good governor, as soon as he got his inaugural ball hangover over with, he would have just jumped in his plane, flew to St. Louis, sat down with Tachara and say, Tish, look, things are going bad here in St. Louis. We need to turn things around. We're going to send some snowplows in. We're going to send some state highway patrol guys in. Matter of fact, we're going to bring in some Missouri Capitol Police to come in and help you with the St. Louis area. And then he would have done one thing after another. And what does he do? He's teasing the reporters. Come on, Mike. Get to
first
work.
Of all, Brad, I would give your rant a B-. Tashara Jones says that you get a grade of a B- on that. Also, hey, Brad, if you want to talk about moving quickly and doing something with your office, you just unwittingly led me into story number 2.
Well, I mean, don't you think the standard's been set by Trump? I mean, the guy's getting stuff done. What's Mike Kehoe done? Nothing, right? Not a thing, right?
Well, I mean, who's more important to meet with than the Missouri Press Association? And then that way they can't say that you refuse to meet with them. You know what I mean, Brett?
The Missouri Press Association. I'm Joe Smith. I'm 48. I've been a reporter for 48 years, and people still love reading the newspaper. It's so important you meet with us, Mr. Keogh. That's who the Missouri Press Association
He should
is.
actually go to the National Association of Broadcasters because they're both in the same category of journalism, right, Brett?
On to number 2.
Up a notch to number 2.
Brett, speaking of people taking immediate action after getting into office, let's talk about our lieutenant governor, David Wasinger. To a lot of people, they hadn't heard the name much until he ran for lieutenant governor this year. He has a long resume of being involved in Republican causes, and he has hit the ground running, Brad. He, along with a few other people who I will name in a moment, just sent a letter to the Missouri Supreme Court. Now, Brad, this could be a topic you could consult your daughter on. You don't need to call her on the air today, but you could consult your daughter on this. You know that attorneys have to do continuing education. You knew that, right?
Right.
And one of the continuing education requirements that they have, Brad, they have to sit through a nearly hour-long lecture, an online lecture about diversity and inclusion and, knowing how to fight systemic racism. David Wasinger says enough with this. We're done with DEI in the state of Missouri. He says attorneys need continuing education. There is meaningful education. He says there's training that is relevant, meaningful, and focused on helping them serve their clients, not mandates that impose unnecessary and politicized agendas. So he's calling on the Supreme Court to keep their continuing education requirements, Brad, but get rid of this DEI requirement. Let's replace that with something that's actually valuable and meaningful for attorneys and their clients. What do you think of that, Brad?
I think he's exactly right. I think it should be a 1-hour session on happy hour on Friday afternoon at CJ Muggs in Clayton. I think that's what it should be.
And then they can say, look, we've been completing this every week for 10 years.
What's interesting about this is the whole continuing education in so many different fields. Sometimes it's a real joke. You know what I'm saying?
I do know, yeah, because especially when it's electronic based.
Well, but it's to the point where, for example, I know I won't out anybody, but they tell me about the fact that there's continuing education like down at Lake of the Ozarks, and so you go for the weekend and on Saturday morning you sit through 3 hours of continuing education. Of course, there's a guy doing a sales pitch for his lawyer software, if it's an attorney or, whatever the stuff is. And it's just like, okay, you're just going through the motions. A real good attorney or any professional is going to automatically keep up with their profession. Don't you think? They're not going to be forced into taking continuing education. And the bad attorneys or whatever profession they are going to say, I got my degree. I know everything there is to know. I don't care. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's probably true. But I don't know. I mean, I could see it both ways. I could see if you're the governing authority, you want people to at least have some sort of competency on new things, Brad. And not every 89-year-old like you, Brad, it stays up to date on technology and the right way to file stuff into CaseNet or the right way to file electronic files. I don't know. I see some value in it. I think in the bigger picture, if you're David Wasinger, you make the lieutenant governor's office, as lieutenant governor, you make it out to be whatever you want to be. And the only thing that's defined besides presiding over the Senate on occasion, is being an advocate for Missouri seniors. And David Wasinger, if he wanted to, could spend his time, handing out certificates to old people. This is Bernice Washington in Walnut Park, and she's volunteered at the local nursing home for the last 30 years. Oh, she pushes around Lamont, who doesn't have the discipline to say no to grape soda, so he had his leg amputated below the knee. Bernice, thank you for your service. Would love to stay, but I got to go across the state and congratulate another old person. Or he could do. Go ahead, Brent.
Or more importantly, he could ban. Matter of fact, I know I've got some inside information on this, John. You don't know about this.
I didn't know that.
You think you got all the scoop? He was going to ban pickleball in the state of Missouri, but the Orthopedic Association, their lobbyists said, we don't know if you should do that or not because that's going to hurt all our orthopedic surgeons because they're making lots of money for all the old people who fall down and break their ankle and break their knees and break their hips on paddleball courts. And he goes, you're right. We'll just let them get all those injuries and then go to Harpo's and get drunk afterwards, right?
I mean, you make a great point. I mean, he is an attorney, Brad.
Of course he is.
Maybe he's got a hand in that racket. You know what you and I haven't explored, Brad? I'm going to pull a Brad Hildebrand and do a little weaving here. As part of the Westplex Chamber, which according to what I've seen on social media, people are joining left and right, Brad, and you can now follow them on Twitter. But according to the Westplex Chamber, what is going to happen for all the pickleball players that used to play at Chesterfield Mall? Now that the mall's getting demolished, where are all those geriatrics going to go? Shouldn't there be a facility in St. Charles County that welcomes the old people that used to play in Chesterfield?
You want me to give a plug for somebody who won't do advertising with us?
No, I'm asking that question legitimately. Like all those pickleball people, do you want them going east to Town and Country? Or wherever else people can drive? Where should they go?
There's that new place in St. Charles called Pickle and Nickel or something like that.
Are you serious? I didn't know that. I didn't. It's called Pickle and Nickel?
Pickle and pastrami or pickle and chicken, I think it is. Chicken and pickle or something like that. It's down near where I still refer to it as where Noah's Ark used to be. You have to be an old.
Oh, Noah's Ark. Yeah. What's the streets of St. Charles, right?
Yeah, but it's not in that same complex. It's down the hill a little bit, somewhere in there. It's some company out of Kansas City, and what it is, it's like you eat chicken and you play pickleball. And the worst part of it is what they do is they smear some of the chicken grease on the pickleball courts, and then the people fall, and
that way people really get injured.
Right? And
now, is there a reason why they associate chicken with pickleball? Is it just because they both have ick in the name?
John, I don't get the whole pickleball thing. Now, maybe if I played it, I used to be a very ardent tennis player. I played a lot of tennis in my day. I haven't picked up a tennis racket in a long time, but I don't sort of get the whole pickleball thing. I mean, maybe once again I should try it and go, oh my God, it's wonderful. It's like I feel like a new person. But I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it either. However, Brad, have you seen among Gen Z women and then also some millennials, I'll give them credit for this. Did you see the trend last summer of girls who don't play pickleball wearing pickleball skirts? Have you seen these?
John, not answering your question directly. My mind is so screwed up. I have no idea. And once again, people talk about, the only one I know is baby boomers, because that's me. Okay, when you say millennials, Gen Zs, I have no idea who that is. What's a Gen Z? How old is that person?
Gen Z today would be late 20s, maybe early 30s.
Okay, and what's before the Gen Z? Let's say you're 25 right now. What are you right now?
Well, actually, I think if you're 25, you would still qualify as a Gen Z. Okay. The super young kids are Gen Alpha. Older than that, let's start from the youth.
Okay.
Gen Alpha is right now, and that's anybody born, I believe, after the year 2000. And then you have Gen Z. And then Gen Alpha is 2010. And then you have Gen Z. And then you have millennials. You're familiar with millennials. Then you have what is truly the greatest generation, which is Generation X, which I happen to be a member of. And then you have fossils, or boomers, whatever you want to call them, the people with one foot in the grave. And then you have all the dead people like Greatest Generation and others.
Okay. We got to get to number one here, but can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't they use a naming hierarchy that makes sense? And I'll give the perfect example. BMW. If you're a BMW fan, it's real easy to figure out what a car is. They have what they call the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 7 series. Okay, the 7 series is the big boats. The 1 series is little tiny cars. And then they have a number after that, which is the displacement of the engine. So in other words, if you have 318, that means you have a 3 series BMW. You have a 1.8 liter engine. Then if it has like a turbo, it's like TI. Okay, why can't they do something like that with the generation? So it would be like B B, boomer, B, and then it would be like you'd have like
the decade. Like I'm a B, like you're a B5 because you were born in the 50s.
Exactly, a B5.
That's a great idea, Brad. That's a surprisingly good idea for me.
So when somebody says, "Oh, he's a B5," that means okay, he was born in the 50s. That way you don't have to think, "Oh, hold on a minute now. If someone's an X, what year were they born in?" And blah 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 blah.
I know. And hey, I'm more of a 36C kind of guy. Brad, can we get into story number 1?
No, we're going to talk about this all morning. Yes, we can.
The number 1.
We're going to bring a story from all the way across the state. Pete Mundo in Kansas City. Brad, we've talked before about how Pete has Mayor Quinton Lucas on to talk about the issues of the day. And this week they talked about something a little bit more philosophical. And it's something that the great Brad Hildebrand has banged on about time and time again. Brad, you have said, if I was a Democrat, I would be going on the Fox Newses of the world and the conservative outlets of the world and getting my message out there to people who need to hear it. Brad, Quinton on Pete's show yesterday said the exact same thing. And he was talking a little bit about the fact that he tries to have a little bit of message discipline as well. And Quinton said Democrats need to stop making unforced errors and picking unneeded fights. And he pointed to the fact, for example, in Kansas City last year, we may have even discussed this, Brad. There was a children's reading week, and somebody in the office, in his office, I believe, decided it would be good to help support a transgender who wanted to read books to kids. Quinton's point was we need to stop creating unnecessary fights, making unforced errors, and people like me, being Quinton Lucas, need to go places like Fox News. We need to go to places who they might not agree with us on everything, but we need to make our voice heard. Brad, I have timestamps up today of the relevant parts of that Pete and Quinton interview. And I mentioned it and I brought it up in story number 1, Brad, because to your credit, you have been saying this for the longest time and pointing out that it is a significant handicap for the Democrats that more of them don't do what Quinton Lucas does.
And the crazy thing about this is you take your hardcore Democrat, and if they called up Fox News, let's say it's some national person, and say, hey, I'd like to be on your show. Could I be on the 5 at 5, whatever their show is? You know what Fox would say? Yes, come on down. You know what I mean?
Absolutely they would.
Because, this doesn't make any sense to me. By the way, I got to pull this quote. Have you heard this thing? One of the representatives, I don't know what the occasion was, but Jim Acosta was in front of the congressional committee. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I haven't
Oh, my God. This is so funny.
Acosta went in front of a congressional committee?
Yes, he's talking with some congressman. Let me see if I can find it during the break. He's talking with some congressman, and they're having like a back and forth. And Jim Acosta gets very, they're talking about various things. And Jim says something about, well, this isn't like, we're talking about CNN. We're not like Fox News. I can't remember. He's like demeaning Fox News. And whoever this congressman says, Mr. Acosta, there are more people watching reruns of SpongeBob SquarePants on the Cartoon Network than there are watching CNN.
That's so funny. That's so good.
It was classic. I see if I can find it. I'm thinking to myself, and that's the point. If you're a comms guy, which you were, who do you want? I mean, like, for example, if you had your choice between us and Mark Cox in 97 right now, which show would you be on, right?
I would be on Tracy Ellis's show.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely I would.
No.
Because I say I want no rhinos around my company.
You wouldn't be on Tracy Ellis's show because she wouldn't have you because you're already blocked by her, which is
That's true.
What was the story? A week after you started doing the show with me, she blocked you. Wasn't that the story?
Yeah, I don't even think it was a week. I think it was more recent. I think it was quicker than that. I mean, she might. Well, never mind. I don't know if she moves that quickly, but her thumbs do.
Does that mean that you're living rent free in her brain? Is that what that means? I guess it does, right?
No. I just, it's a little bit of heat from Brad. But Brad, if I get a little bit of heat from being friends with you, I'm happy to take it because you were a delight.
But John, you know what I say? You know what's frustrating to me? This is my motto. This is the way things should be.
I'm ready.
I want to say, can we all get along? Can we get along?
Yes, Sir Rodney. We have to remember Sir Rodney.
Sir Rodney King. Was he knighted? Did we knight him?
In my mind, he was. He died drowning. You know that crazy story? You know that weird thing?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No. Did he drown in a PCP bath?
No, he was in somebody's swimming pool and he drowned. I mean, what a terrible way to go. Okay, we have to take a break.